You're not gonna believe it, but so last year I would walk by this house all the time, and there was one mushroom. And if you're familiar with the channel, you know that I'm not opposed to running up on people's property to steal banana leaves and things like that. I felt bad about taking someone else's mushrooms, so today on my way to go to the woods for us to go look at mushrooms, I see that they now have 2 growing on their oak tree. And I figured, why not? Let me knock on the door. If they say no, they say no. And I just met a wonderful woman named Dorothy. If you're watching this, hello, Dorothy, who said, absolutely, take them. My husband doesn't cook mushrooms, but wait until you see these hen of the woods mushrooms. I mean, and then another here. And these couldn't be more perfect. I mean, they're brand new. They're not covered in bugs. We're not in the woods right now. This is literally about 6-7 houses down from where I stay here on Long Island. So let's collect these, and we're still gonna go to the woods, but let's grab these. Tell me that's not absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so I want to make note that I'm only taking one and I'm leaving the other one for someone else that comes through the neighborhood. But I have here Lenny, the owner of the mushrooms. Lenny, thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. Enjoy them.
Yes.
And I hope they are really as good as they should be.
And you don't eat mushrooms?
I do not like mushrooms.
Okay, that is...
Must be that Alice B. Toklas thing or something.
Well, the fact that he doesn't like mushrooms is my good fortune, and I got a beautiful, beautiful hen of the woods. Thank you, Lenny.
Quite welcome. Have
All
a
right.
good day.
Take care. So, hen of the woods is called Grifola frondosa. That's its Latin name. And it is a polypore mushroom, which means it doesn't have gills underneath. It has little pores that it drops its spores out of. They grow on oak, and they grow at the base on the root system of the oak, sometimes a little bit further out like the one, sometimes tucked up against the oak. They are a choice mushroom. They are absolutely delicious. Hen of the woods, also known as maitake. They're super high in vitamin D, and they are incredibly healthy for you. We are going to make a beautiful risotto out of the one that Lenny and Dorothy were nice enough to give us. Our day started out fantastic. Something else I want to add is the whole reason that I chose today. So, hen of the woods grows when you have steady climate of about 50 to 70 degrees, and it has been very nice low temps, so it's been perfect. And then 2 days ago we had an abundance of rain, so I waited a couple of days, and Dorothy was actually saying that the one big one that I took doubled in size overnight. I'm hoping that that is what's going on here. We might still be a little bit early in this area, and they might pop up in about a week or so, but we might get lucky and find another one. Okay, so I want to point out another thing that you are up against. So this was a hen of the woods. You can tell it's all white there and growing. I'm guessing it was growing here. The deer. So the deer love them. So they come up and the deer go absolutely wild, and that is what you end up finding. But that's actually a good thing to find that, because it means that they are starting to pop up here, and maybe we have a chance, but very hungry deer out here that we're up against. All right, here we have Letoporus sulphureus, which is chicken of the woods. Those up there actually look a little bit better than the ones down here, but well, they feel pretty good. So Letoporus sulphureus, chicken of the woods, chicken mushroom, sulfur shelf, also a polypore mushroom, also loves growing on oak and hardwood. This has been by far one of my best seasons of chicken of the woods. I've just, look at the one all the way up there. It's right there. This has been one heck of a season. They are beautiful. I think we need another one really good cold snap, and the hen of the woods will then start becoming very abundant, because I am surprised that I'm just not really seeing much, but it is still a little bit during the day on the warmer side, so I think the temps have to drop just a little bit more. So to store my hen of the woods, I just put it in a paper bag. Finding one big enough was a challenge. Look at this thing. This is unreal how beautiful this is. All right, we're gonna clean that up, and we're gonna take all of the fronds off, and we're gonna use the stem to make our stock that we make our risotto with. I cannot get over how awesome this is and how lucky I feel to be the recipient of it. So we're just gonna go in. These are a little dried out, so that we're gonna clean up first, just to get all the dirt and everything off like this. If you're not a mushroom forager, sometimes something like this might be lost on you. But if you are a mushroom forager, you know how ridiculously fortunate I was to get this. And the fact that it wasn't deep in the woods, so that it is this clean. So this is going to go into our stock. These are going to get sauteed off to be mixed into our risotto. I'm going to start with one yellow onion, skin on, and just quarter that. Have a whole head of garlic, already has the roots taken off. So all of our mushroom stem going in. I have 3 little bay leaves. I'm gonna do just a little handful of peppercorn. Scallion, take those roots off, and I'm gonna cut them pretty high up, because we're gonna use the tops for something else in a moment. And we only want really the bright green for what we're doing. So scallions going in. 2 pieces of celery. And then I have here a leek, which is hands down one of my favorite things to cook with. And this we're gonna actually start the risotto with the bottom here. And this makes incredible stock. The only issue is all that dirt hides out in there. So we're gonna give this a quick rinse before we throw it in the bucket. Then we're gonna take our stock inside, cover it with water, bring it to a boil, down to a simmer, and it's gonna go for at least an hour and a half, 2 hours. The next thing we're gonna make is herb oil. So I have here parsley. Just cut that in half, stems and all. And then the scallions that we put aside. So I really just want the thin, bright green. So I'm gonna cut off all of the thicker parts here. We're actually going throw those into our stock pot as well. And then I have thyme. I picked all the thyme. You guys don't need to watch me pick thyme. That into container. So now I have here salted water that's boiling, and I'm gonna blanch all this very, very quickly. And the reason why, so that is, like I said, salted water, and you blanch it for about 15 seconds or so. And then from there, I have an ice bath here. And the reason why is because look at the color on that now. Bright, bright green. Look at that. Gorgeous. And then the ice bath, throw it in there, will lock in that color. You don't want to do it too long because you will pull flavor out of your herbs. So just 15 seconds to get it that beautiful green color. We're going to put them onto paper towels first and try to squeeze out as much of the water as we can. Okay, that goes in. We're just putting in oil after this, enough to cover, giving it a good blend, and then running it through a cheesecloth. So I just have a metal sieve, some cheesecloth there. We pour this in. Don't want to force it through the cheesecloth. You want to let it just do its thing and separate, which can take a very long time. Now let's saute off our mushrooms. So I'm going to start with a dry saute. So all I'm doing is taking the chill off of them, getting them a little bit warmed up. And then we're going to add water and boil off the water. Then we're going to continue to saute them. Now I go back and forth on the way that I cook mushrooms. Sometimes just a little oil in the pan. That's if I'm just eating them as is. Whenever I'm adding them to something and they'll be getting cooked kind of a second time is when I do this method. So cooking them, I know it sounds counterproductive, but cooking them this way, as that water's heating up, it actually draws a lot of the moisture out of the mushroom without yet searing the outside, and you get this perfect condensed little mushroom that you can then sear, and you use a lot less fat and oil because it's already condensed, so it's not soaking up that oil, and you get a very tender, juicy mushrooms. So right now, as the water is almost all the way cooked off, I'm going to add just a touch of olive oil. And then once that cooks off, we'll start sauteing. I'm going to throw in just a little bit of salt and a little bit of thyme. That right there is perfection. Hen in the woods have such a good texture. Oh my goodness. Juicy yet snappy. They're amazing. One of the best mushrooms out there. As my last batch of mushrooms is cooking over there, we're gonna cut up everything that we need for our risotto. So I have here my leek. Just gonna do really thin slices. Then I'm going to do half of a white onion. we're going to chop that up nice and fine as well. And then 2 massive cloves of garlic. Next, I'm just toasting up some pine nuts. So you do that in a pan, no oil or anything, but you gotta keep them moving, otherwise they can burn. All right, I drained my stock. I don't know if you can see from there, but it is a nice, rich, deep color. That's gonna be good. So now I have this on medium heat. Put in our rice first. So I got about almost 2 cups of arborio rice, and it's very important to use arborio rice. It has a higher starch content, and you're going to get that really nice creamy texture from it. You don't want to rinse it off, anything like that. You want all the starch, everything on it. So we're just going to heat this up for a little bit and then add our onion. Gonna add just a bit of oil. Now our onion. Tiny bit of salt on the onion. I'm gonna add in my leek. And now my garlic. You want to add them in that order so that you can sweat them down without the garlic burning or the leek burning, because the leek and the garlic have a higher sugar content than the onion, and they will brown and burn very quick. Okay, now I'm going to add some butter. And I have here some white wine. Once my butter is melted, I'm going to slowly start adding my stock 1 ladle at a time. Very, very slow. And the more you stir, the more you release the starch from the rice. And that's why risotto takes a very long time. You want to do it 1 ladle at a time. Got to put the love in the food, come on. So when I can move it across like this, and the bottom of the pan stays clean for a bit, that's when I add another ladle. It's also important that your stock is not cold. You want it to be at least room temp. Otherwise, you will turn this into a very long process. While we're cooking, I'm just going to put in a little sprinkle of white pepper. But really, all the seasoning we're going to do right at the end, because we're going to put in grated Parmesan cheese to thicken everything up, and that adds a lot of salt. So we don't want to add any more salt now. Parm, so we're going to add that in. Lower my heat, almost turn it off. And how tight or how loose you make your risotto, that's up to you. There's no Gordon Ramsay here. We're going to give this a taste for seasoning. That is perfect. That is perfect. Okay. Doesn't need salt. The pepper is good. You can still, it already has mushroom flavor, and then the parm, like I said, added a bit of salt to it. We're gonna add in some fresh thyme, because thyme and mushroom go together beautifully. Also, when making a risotto, a really nice dry white wine is key, because it'll lighten up the heaviness, and that bit of acid will cut through the fat so it doesn't taste so overwhelmingly rich. Sometimes risottos can be a little flat. Okay, and then the other thing I want you to notice, now that we turn the heat up just a little bit, you see how the parm now tightened it up? That is the exact consistency that I want. Still juicy, still nice and moist, not dried out, but holds its shape and slowly will fall back to the center there. I'm going to turn that heat all the way off now. That is gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's plate up. So the other thing about this herb oil, you have to keep it covered, and it actually in a container that won't get sunlight, and that way it'll stay the nice bright green color. And last but not least, our toasted pine nuts. So there you go. Our wild mushroom risotto. That's unbelievable. Just the risotto on its own has such a good mushroom flavor. And that oil brightens everything up. Has a nice parsley scallion flavor. Our mushrooms are meaty. They got a good taste on them. I'm actually going to drizzle some of our herb oil on top. I could eat bowls and bowls of this. That is a problem. I just want to say, I always do a disclaimer. Do your part, do your due diligence to learn and educate yourself about mushrooms. Do not go by this video. Do not go by me. Books are very helpful. Classes are even more helpful. And having someone along with you that can guide you through how to correctly identify things. And it is very, very important. And also, when you find a mushroom new to you or in a new area, you want to taste just a little bit of it. Don't go ahead and eat like a giant thing of risotto, because if it does cause you stomach distress, it's going to be a rough ride for a couple days. With that said, I'm going to make the other plates of food, get these people fed inside, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for coming along, guys.